to the July program. We want to start on time, and so we'll move forward. The July program put on by the Colorado City and the Colorado City Fire Department, their employees and their families. And you'll see from the brochure, America, My Home. We'll start the program this evening with a word of prayer. We'll ask Virgil to give us the prayer.
Father in heaven, we thank you for the good day that you have blessed us with. Ask that you will please help us to go throughout it with your spirit and protection upon us. Ask that you will please help us in our performance tonight, that we will do it in a manner that is pleasing before you. And ask that you will please bless Uncle Rulin, that he will have everything that he needs and desires at this time. And ask that you will please hear and answer his prayers on behalf of the United Effort Plan. We thank you for the many gifts and blessings you've bestowed upon us. Ask that you will please bless all those who have an interest in our faith and prayers. Ask that you will please bless Uncle Fred and Uncle Parley. They'll have the things that they need. So we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
July was a good month for the city to do our part, because it gave us a chance to talk about the things of patriotism, the things that make America great, that we're part of, and the pride, the gratitude, the feeling of thankfulness we have to be in America, to be American citizens, and to have this great country as our home. We'll start this program off this evening with a patriotic medley by the families and the employees and the fire department guys.
Beautiful, our spacious skies, for amber
I just returned this week from a trip to Boston, Massachusetts. I had the privilege of walking the Freedom Trail. I had the privilege of standing in the Old South Church, listening as they recreated the words of Samuel Adams, John Hancock, and other men as they called upon the people to move forward in the freedom that the colonies ought to be free and independent. I had the privilege of walking to the Old North Church where the lanterns were hung and to see the path and the route that Paul Revere and the men went on over to Concord, to Lexington first, where the first shots were fired that started the war, and then on to Concord, where the first main battles. This was in the spring. All took place in the spring of 1775. At the same time, down in Virginia, the same spirit and the same determination was running. We'll now have address of Patrick Henry, a delegate from Virginia.
I had the privilege of giving this speech at a birthday party in honor of Uncle Roy, who I considered to be one of the greatest patriots that ever lived. I would like now to give this speech in honor of Uncle Rulon and Uncle Fred. No man thinks more highly than I do of patriotism, but different men often see the same subject in different lights. I shall speak forth my sentiments freely and without reserve. It is natural for man to indulge in the illusion of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to the song of their siren until she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in the great and admirable struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be of that number who having eyes see not, and having ears hear not, those things which so nearly concern our temporal salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the worst and to prepare for it. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know of no way of judging the future but by the past. And judging by the past, I wish to know what there has been in the conduct of the British ministry for the last 10 years to justify those hopes which certain men have been pleased to solace themselves. Is it that insidious smile with which our petitions have been lately received? Trust it not. It will prove a snare to your feet. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception of our petition comports with the warlike preparations which cover our waters and darken our lands. Are fleets and armies necessary to a work of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called in to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves. These are implements of war and subjugation, the last argument to which kings resort. I ask, what means this military array if its purpose be not to force us into submission? Can certain men assign any other positive motive for it? Has Great Britain any enemies in this quarter of the world to call for this accumulation of navies and armies? No. She has none. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no other. They are sent over to bind and rivet upon us those chains which the British ministry has been so long forging. And what have we to oppose them? Shall we try argument? We have been trying that for the last 10 years. Have we anything new on the subject? Nothing. We have held this subject up in every light of which it is capable, but it has been all in vain. Shall we resort to treaty and humble supplication? What terms shall we find which have not already been exhausted? Let us not, I beseech you, deceive ourselves longer. We have done everything that can be done to avert the storm that is now coming on. We have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated ourselves before the throne, and have implored its interposition to arrest the tyrannical hands of the ministry and the Parliament. Our petitions have been slighted. Our remonstrances have produced additional violence and insults. Our supplications have been disregarded, and we have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne. In vain, after these things, may we indulge in the fond hope of peace and reconciliation. There is no longer room for hope. If we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve inviolate those inestimable privileges for which we have been so long contending, if we mean not to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged, and which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, then we must fight. I repeat it, we must fight. An appeal to arms and to the God of hosts is all that is left for us. They tell us that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when will we be stronger? Will it be next week or next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed and when a British guard shall be stationed in every house? Shall we gain strength by irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemy shall have bound us hand and foot? We are not weak if we'll make a proper use of the means which God hath placed in our power. The people, armed in the holy cause of liberty in such a country as that which we possess, are invincible by any force which our enemies can send against us. Besides, we shall not fight our battles alone. There is a just God who presides over the destiny of nations, and he it is who will raise up friends to fight our battles for us. The battle is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant, the active, and the brave. And besides, we have no election. If we were base enough to desire it, it is too late now to retire. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. Their clankings may be heard on the plains of Boston. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat it, let it come. It is in vain to extenuate the matter further. Certain men may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war is actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idly? What is it that some men wish? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it! Almighty God, I know not the course that others may take. But as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
Our next part is a song by Larry and Company, Dear Hearts and Gentle People. A little change of pace. We have a fire department with a A shift, a B shift, and a C shift. Next will be Three Amigos. We'll see. In the month of July, we have the 24th of July, the day of the pioneers coming into the Great Salt Lake Valley after a long trek across the plains. We couldn't have a program without commemorating and remembering these pioneers that come across and found their way here into the great valleys of the mountains. We have to honor them. They were great patriots and great pioneer fathers. We now have a pioneer medley by Larry Johnson and the crew. of contentment is a town probably quite a bit like ours. We have a poem by Molly.
There's a town called Don't You Worry, on the banks of the River Smile, where the chirrup and be happy blossom all the while, where the never grumble flowers bloom beside the fragrant try, and don't give up in patience point their faces to the sky. In the valley of in the province of our will, you'll find this lovely city at the foot of No Fret Hill. There are thoroughfares delightful in this truly charming town. On every hand a shade trees named the very seldom frown. Rustic benches quite enticing you'll find scattered here and there. To each a vine is clean, called the frequent earnest pair. Everybody here is happy and singing all the while. The town called Don't You Worry on the banks of the River Smile.
Our next item, I don't know whether you may not recognize it unless you've been to a city council meeting. As you'll see in your agenda, this is a city council meeting anywhere, Arizona. And you'll see the projects that have to be covered. And the list of characters is Mayor Wrangler, Council Member Left Field, Council Member Friendly, Council Member Van Winkle, Council Member Flipper, City Manager Slick, and by all means, City Attorney Sharp. Chief Police Chief Buckshot, and developer Building Quick. Sam of Sam's Hometown Auto, some interested citizens, the mayor's wife, and old Father Time. They're all an integral part of a city council organization. We'll go forward now with a mock city council put on by the city employees help.
Did the stray dog issue get finalized?
I think so, but I'm not in the mood for any more on that subject. By the way, did Mrs. Hoffington ever find her poodle?
Yes. The Spikenard kids were holding it for ransom.
Did she pay up?
No. She made the juveniles mow her lawn and paint her fence to reimburse her and the poodle, poor little thing, for all the trauma and mental anguish that they'd caused.
Well, good for them.
Where's the council? Let's
Haven't
get
seen
this
him.
over with. I've got a very important appointment after this meeting.
What could be more important than the council meeting?
Did you say we'd have an
Something.
appointment or a meeting?
Well, he's having an appointment next.
Where's Fred? Van Winkle. Well, let's get this show on the road. You come. Where is Fred?
Mr. Mayor, you know the old saying, the council works from sun till sun, but the mayor's work is never done.
Yeah, I'm always on the job. I'm expecting that. I know it's for me. City Hall. Yes. I think we can do it in about 2 hours.
2 hours?
Will you call them?
I think so.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Let's get this show on the road.
Who's requesting new police cars?
Well, Chief Buckshot's requesting these new cars. He's got some pretty high-flying designs, but I suppose it'd be nice for him if we could slip this one through.
I trust no one will require my opinion on this new street improvement project.
I haven't had time to investigate the proposed site.
Well, I doubt if the council has either. It's better we just let them know it's been decided and get them to approve.
That's right, or else we'll be here all night.
That's right.
Who in the treetops is Mrs. Philanthrope?
Well, she's sort of a wealthy, eccentric busybody. Pays to cater to her, though. She can be generous at times.
Why would she be coming to this meeting?
Beats me. I've seldom known her to honor us with a preview of her battle strategies.
Perhaps it would greatly facilitate our proceedings here if we could get her to revise her policy and do so.
You want to try?
Negative.
If you gentlemen have finished your discussion,
I suppose.
we'll call this meeting to order. Let's have the roll call.
Mayor Engler.
Here.
Councilmember Left Field.
All right, here.
Councilmember Van Winkle. Van
Where is
Winkle.
he? He's always late. Oh, man.
Started already? Even the mayor's here?
The mayor's in a hurry.
Councilmember Friendly.
I'm finally here.
And Councilmember Flipper.
Oh, I guess.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum present. We can proceed.
Okay, minutes from the last meeting. We will appreciate short answers, direct and to the point, and in understandable English.
Everything's in writing. I'm sure you can read it during the meeting.
Yeah, you usually make us read it during meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, no. 2 hours?
Looks like a legal document to me.
You got a week's with me?
What bit? I didn't even know anything about
Oh.
How come we're barely getting these?
it. Get that.
Lost the pig, about 6.
We prefer to keep our meetings on a business-like basis. I'll ask the council to stay on the subject, pay strict attention to the proposals in the agenda. Now, have the minutes been read and accepted for approval?
No, I haven't.
According to the last minutes during our last meeting, I had an objection to the proposal of an addition to the new city hall.
Oh, yeah.
But I've changed my mind. I decided I didn't want to stand in the way of a project that would do good to everyone concerned.
I don't see anywhere in here that says I voted on it and I was here for the whole meeting.
You were asleep. You were asleep when the vote was taken.
You did.
Yeah, he was. Also, it says here that I was very decidedly against the addition as it would spoil the lawn and flower beds. But now, I think it might be a pretty good idea. The place could use some new landscaping.
Yeah, and my only objection to the project is, what will it cost the city? And, you know, is it just some palatial-looking status to keep up with other towns and things like that?
Will the council please make notation of their corrections, pass them to the manager? We'll have to vote on it next meeting. Okay. First item, street improvement project location. We'll ask the manager to please display the city map and introduce this issue. Quickly.
Sergeant, you hold that up. It's good out of it.
Hey, instead of building streets, let's build a golf course.
Hey, we have an allocation here for a street improvement project, and we need to designate the best location for this project before they get siphoned off on some special interest job.
Well, I don't know.
If you're open to suggestions, I propose the city to open a new route past the silage pit where the wind blows the other way.
Please understand, we only have funds to improve existing right-of-ways, not for new construction.
Legalizing a primary passageway involves an overabundance of ordinations and innovations far overreaching the designated time limit.
And besides that, it'd take way too long to get all the paperwork done, get all the permits, do all that other stuff before we could even start.
I think it'd be really nice to drive out to the shopping mall without having to smell the feedlots on the way. But of course, I wouldn't want to put the city to any extra bother.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, I'm afraid this meeting will take longer than 2 hours. Please remember I have a very important appointment after this meeting.
Well, what I've heard from the proposed project, the local citizens have pretty well made up their mind to have the roadway between Pickledale Avenue and Parsnip Lane. But there's a big controversy over the removal of a large tree house. Our kids have played on it for years. It's become a historical landmark.
That's right. It's been remodeled several times. My kids grew up there. My grandkids want to grow up there too.
But the town's growing and developing faster now. We can't let kids hold up progress. New homes have to go up along that road.
I have a great idea. Why don't we sponsor a fundraiser to raise new material for a new tree house on a different location?
Right. Speaking of good locations, you got a couple of nice big trees back at your place left field. We could build it there.
Have all the kids tromping throughout Bodacious Flower Garden? No way, she'd have me run out of town.
Well, it seemed like a good idea.
That's a good idea.
You got a little tree. We're running short of time. Next item, purchase of police cars. Chief Buckshot, will you quickly expand on this?
The bids that were prepared, but due to overabundance of the business, they weren't advertised. However, I did get them sent out to everyone, so we can go ahead.
Why do we need new cars? So police officers can cruise around in luxury while hoodlums hide out in the bushes? Foot patrols would be more like it. Well, that's what they had when I was a kid. Old Mike McPhinney, he knew how to catch them hoodlums first rate. Maybe we ought to have horses like the Canadian Mounties. Why, they say those Mounties always get their man.
Why weren't the specs submitted to the council?
We've been unable to ascertain the existence of state laws on this issue, and in the event of a city ordinance, no record of such has been procured, although I seem to recall that one was passed.
Is that supposed to be an answer?
I think our officers need good cars. With all the things you read about in the papers, maybe they should have armored cars, steel plated like tanks.
We got one great bid from Luxury Auto Company. Stereo CD player, reclining seats, tinted windows, air conditioning, sunroof, and a built-in refrigerator for cold drinks. Real pretty outfits. Had to go all the way to LA for the bid.
And I have a rebuilt two-seater. It's good enough for me, it ought to be good enough for city employees.
That's right. The kids ought to have a new tree house if you're going to tear down the old one. I'll vote on that. Friendly, you're the school principal. Why don't you make a school building project out of it?
Let's get back to the point. Go ahead, Sam.
As you know, I'm Sam from Sam's Hometown Auto, and I got the bid specs here. My bid meets the specs. There isn't anything in them specs says anything about all those fancy frills he's after.
What's going on
I
here?
object to the character deframing incineration. Mayor, you have to consider the needs of your city employees who spend long, tedious, lonely hours devoted to the safety and protection of citizens. And besides that, sunroofs save energy.
How's a sunroof gonna save you energy? You're on night shift most of the time.
Any more out of you, Sam, and I'll personally throw you out on your ear.
I'm not talking to you, Buckshot. Mr. Mayor, I pay taxes around here same as others. And it's only right this city support local business.
Order, order. We need to move along. We'll have to continue this bit at the next meeting. Where were we?
Mr. Mayor, my garbage dumpster got missed again.
Oh, no, not again.
City's not,
We can't afford another load.
city's not doing its public duty, and I'm mad. If I don't get you back tonight, we'll
Now, sir, you must understand, sir, the magnanimous amount of garbage to collect, and also the very stringent EPA regulations limiting the purpose of the landfill to only 1 day per week. Isn't that stupid? Therefore,
Did we decide to paint dumpsters pink or purple?
Oh, no, we didn't talk about that before. I thought
Purple, we voted on it last time. We haven't time to deviate from the agenda. Next item, please. This is, who is this? Philanthro. Where is she?
Time to wake up.
Another disturbance. Go ahead, Mr.
City Hall. Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, of course we understand. Just a moment. Let me make a note of that. Yes, yes, I have it. It's item number 5 on the agenda. Certainly I'll relay the information. And thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day.
Was that Philanthro?
That was Mrs. Philanthro. She was planning to be at this meeting. She intended to fly in on her private jet and try out our new runway. At the last moment, she realized that her pilot was sick and wasn't able to come. Said he was mumbling something about working for an old battle axe. She did, however, give us a list of the items she wants us to consider.
Well, I wish she was here. We kind of have to cater to her. She has been pretty generous. Go ahead and read them, but listen, we don't have time to discuss them tonight. Let's just wait till next meeting. Go ahead.
Well, she says she's had a number of letters from our citizens asking that something be done about earwig control.
Oh, man. Why did they ever write me letters?
Now, due to budget considerations, she proposes that we fund this project through a tax on soda pop. Since we seem to consume such a great amount, especially Mountain Dew.
Considering the voluminous proportions of this universal concern, I perceive that this will be an arduous task.
I have a great idea. Let's use Mountain Dew to control the earwigs. It's not good for people, so it really ought to devastate those earwigs.
How are we gonna get them to drink the darn stuff? That reminds me of a story.
Oh, no, not another story.
These folks saw this ad in the paper for a surefire, money-back, guaranteed way to kill boll weevil.
This is so dry.
Since they was devastated with the critters, they sent for a $5 order. What come back in the mail was 2 little boards numbered number 1 and number 2 with the following instructions. Place board number 1 on ground. Place boll weevil in center of board number 1. Place board number 2 on boll weevil. Stomp on board!
Is there any other business? Time's running out. I don't see anything on
Yes.
it.
Mr. Mayor, complaints are coming in from the residents of the Mosquito subdivision.
What sort of complaints?
They're complaining about low-flying jets coming in on the runway, making too much noise over their homes.
The airport was there first.
Sir, the engineers have assured us that the acoustics for that locality are acceptably adequate to accommodate the cumulative resonance acquired from the activity of advanced aircraft of any design.
Oh.
Well, I can see that there's nothing else. I'm late. I might miss my appointment. I usually don't have an opportunity. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, we haven't voted.
All the time.
Oh, man.
I wouldn't call that a fair representation. But sometimes city councils can get a little bit exciting. It's funny what you get. The other day we got a 911 call. A little girl called up and said, "Can you get somebody to help me? My little brother won't mind me." And Mama left him here and I just gotta have some help. So you can see that it takes all kinds of people. Next is a child's story of 5 Little Firemen by Carol Barlow.
This is a make-believe storybook. I had the very distinct privilege of working at the elementary school when Jacob and Roland and Kevin and Jonathan were working their way through elementary school. And I think that's one reason they nominated me to read this story. The 5 Little Firemen. A little house caught on fire. The fire started so quickly, it was such a little fire at first. A flame like a little mouse came darting in and out of the hole in the hall closet and darted back again. A policeman named Jed smelled it. But it grew and sizzled, and the house began to smoke, and the smoke blew out the window. And then Jed saw it. He peeked in the cellar window and saw the yellow flames in the gray smoke. So he ran to the corner, opened the red alarm box, and called the fire department. Ding, ding, ding! 5 little firemen slid down the firehouse pole. Sparks, shouts the first little fireman and jumps into the chief's red truck. Off he goes with red lights and siren. The first little fireman has to be first at the fire to tell all the other firemen what to do when they get there. He is Fire Chief Joe. Send an engine company, shouts the second little fireman as he grabs his white helmet and jumps into a white car with a red line down the side. He is Battalion Chief Jake. The third little fireman jumps into the driver's seat of the ladder truck, the biggest fire engine of all. He has muscles as big as baseballs. He is that strong. He runs up the ladders and carries the people down the ladders. He is Captain Kevin. We'll squirt lots of water, says the fourth little fireman, who is bright as a button, and so drives the huge engine truck. He is Captain Roland. A fire won't wait, says the fifth little fireman, and jumps on the side of the ladder truck as it rolls out the door. He is kind of round like a pumpkin and very jolly. He is Captain John. With a clang and a cling and a woo and a wee, the tires of the truck go hissing around, leaving the firehouse far behind. Halt, get out of the way, here come the 5 little firemen. They go whizzing up a street called Oak Street, then down Utah Avenue to Central Street, and up Highway 389 and over Johnson Avenue to Township Avenue. There on Township Avenue was the little house on fire. Flames the size of pocket handkerchiefs were waving out the windows, and lots of smoke. When the chief got to the door was on fire. Chop it down, he ordered, but he kicked it down with his foot and ran upstairs and woke up the very sleepy family, who all started sneezing with the smoke. This was the Anderson family, and they were terribly sleepy. Grab what you love most and run out of the house, ordered the chief. Mrs. Anderson grabbed her 3 little boys and ran out of the house. Mr. Anderson came afterwards to be sure that all his family were out of the house and standing in a line on the lawn. And there they were, all safely out on the front lawn when the fire trucks came along. But where is the Andersons' jolly fat cook? The 5 little firemen, brave as can be, get to work. The first little fireman yells orders. The second little fireman yells more orders. The third little fireman rushes off to find the cook. The fourth little fireman backs the truck into just the right place, points the water tower at the flames, and squirts. The fifth little fireman unrolls the hose and screws it onto the fire hydrant. Swish, swish, swish. It squirts out of the nozzle like a roaring river through the air. Swish, they smash in the windows to let out the smoke. And a swish, it roars the water to put out the flames. The third little fireman has found the cook, and he wants to carry her down the ladder on his back in a fireman's carry. Nix, says she. She's too fat to carry and too big to jump into the net and too jolly to stay and burn up in the flames. So they shoot up a lifeline for the Andersons' jolly fat cook to slide down, and down she comes. Gee wallopers, says she, it was getting warm up there. Soon all the bright flames were wet black ashes, and the crackling sound of the flames was quiet, and there was only the great purring of the red hose truck pumping water and the bright searchlight of the fire engines. Fire's out, calls Chief Joe, and the first little fireman climbs into his shiny red truck. Come get some rehab, calls Battalion Chief Jake as he drives away in his white car. That was some cook, says Captain Kevin. Some fire, says Captain Roland. Let's go, says Captain John. Then the engines back up, turn around, and roar away. Only their bells clang slowly now, clang, cling, clong, and a ding, ding, ding. They all go back to the firehouse. The 5 little firemen have black on their faces and black on their hands. The chief's bald head is black all over. Their rubber coats and helmets are shiny wet with water from the hose. The 5 little firemen are tired. They have to wash the fire engines. They then polish the bells and the sirens and all their equipment to be ready for another fire alarm at any minute should one come. At first the firemen hang up their helmets, and at last the firemen hang up their helmets and rubber coats. They wash their hands and faces. There is no other fire alarm that night, so the 5 little firemen sit down to supper and sing songs and laugh and eat lots of kipper snacks and crackers. There never are very many fires, and that is why the 5 little firemen are so fat, all but one. 5 little firemen jump into bed, 5 little firemen, brave as can be, sleep, and they dream of being in the July program.
Our next item is an instrumental by Elmer Johnson's Children. We'll have that now. I want to talk just a little bit about the fire department. Our fire department actually is first organized back in about 1960 after Uncle Fred and I and Josie and some of us went down to Phoenix and bought a little old Dodge, 47 Dodge fire engine, drove it home in a snowstorm without a top on it. And from that, we've grown to where we as a pretty good sized department. We actually have come to the place where we have a big group of men and women that are very dedicated and very trained, and very skilled. I might just comment that last year, 1990, we responded to 234 different incidences. For a small department, that's over almost one every other day incident where we had to respond either to an EMS or to a fire incident. We had this year several very important runs, but with the skill and the training that our men and women have, I just feel to appreciate them and thank them. I now give you the Colorado City Fire Department. You mean they're all gone? I heard a fire page. I guess we'll just have to go on without them. This is the only two people we have. Clinker and their mascot. You know, that's the way it is. It doesn't matter what you're doing. When that alarm goes off, you leave it. It doesn't matter whether it's in the middle of the night or when it is. You're up and you're gone. All right. I give you the Colorado City Fire Department.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fire department personnel perform many duties requiring a variety of different uniforms, protective gear, and safety equipment. We'd like to take this opportunity tonight to introduce you to a few of these types of protective gear and uniforms. Of course, you can see the dress uniform, and behind the men and women in dress uniform, I'll introduce you first to the men with the turnout gear on for structural firefighting. I'll have them step forward. This is the type of gear we use for structural firefighting and vehicle rescue, which includes full turnout gear, self-contained breathing apparatus, and various firefighting tools. In our business, we run on a lot of emergency medical service calls. And for quick response, the emergency medical service uniform we wear is a medical jacket. We have a variety of medical equipment, which the EMTs carry, and our volunteers are certified to provide this type of service. There's some special types of gear we need, such as a level B entry suit for dealing with certain types of hazardous materials. This is a Tyvek entry suit which keeps the firefighter safe from any contaminated type material that would be harmful to them while they deal with the situation. It also includes the self-contained breathing apparatus and special tools that they would need, and of course very special training. The proximity suits, these would be used for flammable liquid fires or for fighting aircraft fires and aircraft rescue, which is a very special type of a turnout gear, and some special extinguishing agents of carbon dioxide and dry chemical powders. And of course, many of the children know there's another type of special turnout gear we wear when we're doing public fire education, and it comes in the form of a clown suit and a dog uniform. This is what we use when we're doing public fire education. We feel like it's a very important part of our work. They never can get together. We also respond to wildland fires. That's brush fires, grass fires. And this requires a different type of turnout gear also, which includes a Nomex flame-resistant jacket, a special helmet, and some special types of tools for dealing with the brush fires. And then we also respond on mountain rescues and mountain type of incidences where we have to climb the mountain and help someone that's been injured, someone needs some help that's lost. Includes a work uniform and hiking shoes, a soft pack jump kit, includes the ropes, the types of equipment that we would need to get someone off the mountain. Of course, this is only a sample of the various types of turnout gear, safety equipment we have. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Clinker, Sparky. To better manage our personnel and to maintain constant manning at both Station 1 and Station 2, we've assigned each of the volunteer members into one of 4 shifts. Of course, you've seen the captains of A, B, and C shift earlier, but we have A, B, C, and D shifts. I'd like to introduce you to the different shifts, and so you can see, and each year we change the shifts around so the personnel are rotated to the different shifts. A shift, assemble on the left side of the stage under the direction of Captain John Fisher. B shift, under the direction of Captain Kevin Bartle. C shift, under the direction of Captain Roland Bartle. And D shift, under the direction of Supervisor Carol Bartle. A special thanks to the volunteers for the immense time involvement it takes to train and respond to the emergency needs of our community. We are pleased to serve our people. I give you the fire department. Thank you.
I'm mighty proud of them and the work they do. I've never worked with a finer group of people. We're setting up now for a little slideshow. It's called Then and Now. It's a program we've kind of put together to try to show some of the improvements that's been made over the last few years and some of the things that was in the past. Many of the old houses, many of the things, the older folks will know, the younger folks will not, but they can see. One of the interesting things I want you to notice in our slideshow is how that the country 40 years and 50 years ago was so devoid of trees that there was hardly any trees. Part of that is because there was no running water, no way to keep them alive, only just a few windmills here and there. And as this slideshow proceeds, you will be able to get a grasp of some of those things, if we can get it into place now. I want to ask all the little kids to move back. Move back. I'm going to need the front of this area here as we go forward. Get almost back to the edge of that, the carpet. Move clear back. This is Shark Creek in 1944, looking from up on the mountain above Uncle Fred's home. This is what it looks like today, looking from some of the same, near the same position. As you can see, the new schools and the trees and the streets. In 40 years, or 50 years ago. This is a little lower shot, but much the same area, a new shot. See the storehouse and other things. This is back in 1966, standing up on the hill, looking across Uncle Fred's barn and looking at the Hilldale. Today, this is the same. You can still see the little barn down there, but you can see the trees and the buildings and the other things that are there. This is a shot taken from the airplane as it comes down the canyon. This is from up on top of El Capitan. Any of you that have never been up there can get an idea of what it looks like from up on there. Some of us, when we were younger, we hiked up on that. This is a little bit dark, but it's the industrial park from up in the airplane. This is the runway, the old runway that was made down in the lake bottoms. It's hard to see with that light on though. This is the new runway, as you can see as you're coming down. This is the big new runway that's just opened up. That's what it looked like from the air. Anyone that hasn't had a chance to go down there, as you can see it laid out with 2 runways. Looks real nice. This is looking up the street from down by Leonard Barlow's home. Up, you can see the old school and the barn up the way. This is almost the same position, but it's so heavily treed that you can hardly see from that position. Look up the main street, the old barn, and Aunt Lizzie's old home. Look at how the water used to wash the big gullies right down through the middle of the street. See how that done? Because all the water came right down that one street. This is the street today. We have some good main streets now and ways of handling the water, and so this doesn't take any water anymore. And the trees have grown up along it. This is Uncle Bill standing with the horse, and we're looking at the old barn. It's not quite in focus. The old barn, this is almost the exact same position. The old barn stood where the green building now is, the shop and the fire station. This is out in front of where Aunt Lizzie's house was. And looking up towards the creek, this was the main street at that time. This looks rough, don't it? That's James' backyard. Up the same area, right up where that street used to be. This is out by the burying hole when they put in the culverts on the road. It used to be a big wash. We used to have to cross there. Today, this is the same spot. You can see the little sign to the side there showing where the culverts are. They now have a nice paved road down it. This is over by the old cannery, standing out in the street right in front of JL's house. You can see the old cannery. This is the same spot, looking across to where you can see Lee Beislein's new house with the trees all around it. We tried to take these much the same spot. This is the road project. As it was in progress, used to be an old dirt road down through the middle of town. This is it today. As you can see, finished off, beautiful wide street. Looking across in much the same position to the store as they were putting in the road. Today, this is what it looks like. Nice wide paved streets. This is looking south or west down Township Avenue. This is what it looks like now. As we can see, paved all the way down. This is from the other end. You can see how much had to be taken out there. That was a big sand dunes down by the chicken coops. Vermilion chicken. This is what it looks like now. Uncle Roy's old home at the time of the raid. This is the way it looked. It had just barely been completed. This is the same old home down there now. Uncle Rich's home, just after it was completed, and made out of rocks out of the mountains here. This is the same spot, except it's almost entirely covered with trees, the big weeping willows that Uncle Rich planted. The old sawmill set right up there at the university area. Today, nothing but a few pieces of cement left to show where it stood. This is part of it, the old green chain, where's the lumber come out. Today, the old green chain still sits there with the trees grown over it. Never has been changed. Then and now. This you'll remember is Don Covington's house. is right up there by near where the telephone building is, in that area. Today, it's Sister Richter's place. The old bridge crossing, look at the high banks on the other side. This is the area where went through before there was ever a bridge in. They cut a big dugway up through it. Later in 1935, they built a wooden bridge. And this was the wooden bridge. You notice there's no trees, anything around there. And then in 1953, they built a road to the side of it because the bridge could only carry 5 tons. It wasn't built to carry any weight. Today, looking much the same area, the road has changed. As the cement went in, began to change the face of the crossing. You can see now the construction. This is where they was kind of controlling it. Look up the creek. See the big trees up on the bank up there? That's all there is. There's almost no trees in the creek at all. They're trying to control it. This is back in about 1940. Now, today, the same 2 big trees are back there, but the whole creek is almost grown in with vegetation. We used to have floods that come across and take out the crossings. This is what it looks like today. There's a beautiful wide street and the curbs on it. This is the little city park. It was a piece of ground dedicated by old Judge Larson for a city park many years ago, and the county gave it to us. We went forth and began to put it together. And this is the process of bringing it together. Today, this is the city park, the Larson Park. Beautiful, as pretty as you can find in any town. This is the dedication day of when our first street project, as we cut the ribbon to try to open up the new street in front of the school. This, of course, is today, looking across at our beautiful meeting house. Then we used to meet in the school, down here, the school building on the South Auditorium. And before that, we met in this building and the other buildings around it. When we were kids, we used to have, this was the meeting house, the old school that we're starting now to renovate and try to rebuild and make a museum out of it. This is the way it looked back when we went to school back in the 40s and 30s. This was a little later, after about the 50s. We'd started those little trees and put a little bit of grass in. This picture here is the morning of the raid in 1953. The newsreel cameras were set up. It was before there was a television, a lot of it out there, and they had newsreel cameras set up, and some of the folks sitting under the trees in the shade. I saw Uncle Roy stand in front of those cameras there and speak to the world. As you can see, we ended up with the old school building on the day of the raid. Today, the 38th anniversary of the raid. The morning, well remembered by some of us, as the officers came in and with their sirens, their lights, and their policemen, the National Guard, as they've come forth and gathered us up, held us in a circle right out in that front of that school, in that courtyard you saw, with officers standing all the way around us. It was where Grandpa Jessup stood, by the flag. It was where Uncle Roy stood and said, "We'll not surrender." He said, "We'll give our lives before we'll give up the principles that we believe in." Just as in the days of old, in the days of the Passover, in the days of Israel, we don't want to forget the day of this day, the day of the raid. I think the wonderful deliverance that God wrought through the faith of Uncle Roy and the people that was with him in bringing back, searching out, finding every person, and encouraging us to stand faithful and stand true, so that in the end we've all come back and returned and fought the battle and won. I would like now, as we come to the conclusion of our program, I'd like to see everyone that can remember and was part of that raid. Please stand up. Will you people please come up here and stand in front of us? You people that can remember and was part of that raid. You young people stand back. 38 years ago is a long time, but it's vivid in the minds and hearts of those people. Just stand along here, along the edge here as far as... I'd like to have the young people and I'd like to have the others take a look at you. Many of you were little tiny children, but still remember it. Others, men like Truman and Sam and men like that, were just young men, 14, 15 years old. Myself was only 21. And Uncle Roy at that time, I think, was only about 65. We'd like to invite you people to join with us in singing "God Bless America," this great nation that we live in, if you will.
Storm clouds
on Kevin to give us a prayer.
Our Father in heaven, we come before you at the close of this entertainment. We're thankful for your many blessings to us, for the many opportunities that we have. We're grateful to you for our leadership and for the opportunity we have to work under the direction of Uncle Reuben. Please bless and watch over him, protect him in every way. Help us to uphold and support him and to be a people that he can use in your work. We're thankful for the opportunity we have to work together and to be the ones that can carry your work forward. Please bless and watch over us as we go about our work and in our travels. Help us to always have your Spirit about us. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.